Life in the Middle Ages was harsh, and nowhere was this more evident than in the daily grind of a medieval servant. These individuals formed the backbone of noble households, performing arduous tasks from before dawn until long after dusk. Despite their essential role, servants lived with little recognition, often facing grueling schedules, strict hierarchies, and the constant scrutiny of their masters. To truly understand medieval life, one must step into their worn shoes and follow the rhythm of a servant's day. The day often began before sunrise. In grand castles, the first duty of the servants was to wake the household. The castle bell or the distant crowing of roosters signalled the start of another demanding day. Young pages and footmen would run along cold stone corridors, lighting torches and candles to illuminate the dim, draughty halls. The kitchens, too, stirred to life, with scullions and kitchen maids preparing fires for cooking. In a world without electricity, servants had to rely on wood, coal, and their own muscle power to heat the castle's numerous rooms and kitchens. Breakfast in the medieval household was often a modest affair for the lords and ladies, but for the servants it was even simpler, usually leftovers from the previous day or scraps not deemed worthy of the noble table. Many servants had little time for their own sustenance, eating quickly between chores or not at all until evening. Their diet consisted largely of bread, porridge, and occasionally cheese or salted meat. Malnutrition was common, and exhaustion from relentless labour left little room for indulgence. As the household began to wake, the tasks multiplied rapidly. Servants were expected to clean the castle, sweeping floors, scrubbing stone walls, emptying chamber pots, and ensuring that halls and chambers looked presentable. Hygiene in the Middle Ages was rudimentary, and the conditions of a medieval castle could be both filthy and cold. Rats and vermin were a constant nuisance, and servants often had to contend with them while performing their duties. Dirt, soot from fireplaces, and the stench of unwashed rooms were everyday companions. In larger households, the work was divided according to strict hierarchies. Higher-ranking servants, such as stewards and butlers, oversaw operations and managed finances or inventories. They were responsible for the smooth running of the household and often acted as intermediaries between the servants and the noble family. Below them, footmen and chambermaids performed the bulk of the physical labour, carrying heavy buckets of water, tending fires, and polishing metalware. The kitchen staff, including scullions and cooks, were responsible for preparing meals for both the household and its guests, often starting before dawn and continuing until late evening. One of the most critical duties of a medieval servant was attending to the needs of their masters. Chambermaids and personal attendants helped dress the nobles, laced corsets, polished boots, and prepared elaborate hair and clothing for the day. For nobles, appearances were everything, and servants were expected to work meticulously, quickly, and without complaint. Even minor errors could result in harsh reprimands or punishment. Some nobles were known to be cruel, expecting absolute obedience while offering little compensation. While the nobles went about their leisure or administrative duties, the servants remained busy running errands, carrying messages, and preparing the household for the day's events. During meal preparation, kitchen servants worked tirelessly to chop wood, grind grains, butcher meat, and stir enormous cauldrons. Spices and imported goods, reserved for the lords, had to be carefully measured and added to stews and breads. Every dish, every detail mattered, as a poorly prepared meal could reflect badly on the noble household. Mealtimes, especially the grand feasts, were the busiest and most stressful periods for servants. Banquets could last hours and involved dozens of dishes. Servants moved like shadows, carrying plates of roasted meats, bread and wine, refilling goblets, clearing debris, and ensuring everything ran smoothly. They often ate last, if at all, and what little they did eat was usually the scraps from the guests' tables. The sheer physical and mental demand during these times required endurance and acute attention to detail. Beyond daily chores, servants were also responsible for maintenance of the household and grounds. Cleaning stables, feeding animals, maintaining fires, and repairing tools or furniture were regular tasks. Castles were vast, with sprawling kitchens, halls, and courtyards, and it often required dozens of servants to keep everything in working order. The labour was relentless, and time for rest was minimal. Even when brief breaks occurred, servants were often expected to be on call, ready to respond to the immediate needs of their masters. Despite the exhausting labour, there were small moments of respite. Servants might whisper and joke among themselves while performing mundane tasks, share meagre meals together, or briefly enjoy a communal fire at night. In some households, senior servants had opportunities to interact more directly with the noble family, gaining trust and sometimes influencing household decisions. These moments were rare but essential for morale in an otherwise demanding existence. A medieval servant's day also included seasonal and ceremonial duties. During festivals, holidays, or visits from important guests, the workload increased dramatically. Servants had to prepare for decorations, set up banquet halls, and ensure that every aspect of the household reflected wealth and prestige. During religious holidays, servants participated in processions, cleaned chapels, or helped in charitable events, often juggling multiple responsibilities while maintaining strict decorum. Training and skills were crucial in a servant's life. Many servants started their apprenticeship at a young age, learning the intricate details of household management, cooking, cleaning, and etiquette. Experienced servants became invaluable, often taking on supervisory roles or managing specific areas like kitchens, stables, or chambers. Knowledge of herbs, remedies, and basic medicine was also common, as they were expected to tend minor injuries and illnesses within the household. Discipline in medieval households could be harsh and unforgiving. Mistakes or laziness were not tolerated, and punishments could range from extra labour to physical reprimands. Obedience and discretion were expected at all times. Servants were not merely labourers, they were the silent guardians of the household's smooth operation, witnessing secrets, political intrigues, and the personal affairs of their masters while remaining invisible in the social hierarchy. Evenings were long and often exhausting. After cleaning up from the day's meals, tending fires, and securing the castle for the night, servants would finally have a brief moment to rest. Most slept in shared quarters near the kitchens or stables, often on straw mattresses or wooden boards. Privacy was non-existent, and the rooms were cold and drafty. Nights were short, as the cycle began again before dawn. Despite the hardships, a life as a medieval servant offered relative stability compared to peasants in the countryside. Servants in noble households had access to food, shelter, and sometimes wages, which could be a significant advantage during famines or harsh winters. Moreover, experienced servants could rise in rank, gaining better accommodations, influence, or even small gifts from their masters. Yet the reality remained. It was a life of toil, service, and constant vigilance. Social life for servants was largely confined to their fellow workers. Friendships and alliances were crucial for survival, providing emotional support, practical assistance, and shared knowledge about the household's operations. Humour, camaraderie, and shared stories helped ease the burdens of labour. Festivals or religious holidays offered rare moments of joy and celebration, where servants could briefly step out of their demanding roles. The medieval servant's life also highlighted the rigid class structure of the period. While nobles enjoyed leisure, wealth, and power, servants existed in the shadows, ensuring the comfort and safety of their masters. Their labour supported the very opulence that defined the medieval aristocracy, yet they remained largely invisible, their contributions essential but uncelebrated. The contrast between the lives of servants and their masters underscores the stark inequalities of medieval society. In conclusion, the daily life of a medieval servant was a grueling blend of labour, discipline, secrecy, and survival. From pre-dawn chores to late-night fires, from tending to nobles to maintaining the castle and its grounds, every day demanded endurance, skill, and unwavering dedication. Though harsh, this life offered lessons in resilience, loyalty, and adaptability, painting a vivid picture of medieval society beyond the battles, kings, and castles. Servants were the silent backbone of the Middle Ages, and their stories, though often overlooked, reveal the true complexity and hardship of life during this fascinating era.